Hello, guys, and welcome to Eye on the Storm, your weekly place for everything Heroes of the Storm. I am Anna Prosser Robinson. I'm joined by my lovely co-host Gilly. How are you doing today, Gilly?
Hi, Anna. I am great. How are you doing?
Really good. Got off work, ready to talk some heroes, and we're joined by a fantastic guest we're going to introduce here in a second, but just really quickly, in case you've never watched this show before, you're wondering what you're looking at. This is Eye on the Storm. It is a community and talk show based around Heroes of the Storm. We learn things about heroes, learn things about strategy, also about the development of the game, and then we talk about our community and how it's growing. This was originally started as a place for Gilly and I to practice learning the game and casting, and it has helped us get our start in casting. We actually just casted yesterday the Heroes Hype Amateur Series, so that was pretty fun.
It was super fun.
Yeah, we had some crazy games. It was awesome. But Gilly, why don't you tell us a little bit about what people can expect on today's show?
Yeah, so guys, every week we bring in a guest expert to talk about something going on in the scene. This week we'll be talking about the new map, Tomb of the Spider Queen. Of course, was introduced in last week's patch. We'll also have a little bit of a community discussion as well, and that will just be more of the patch discussion as well. We also will have a character spotlight. This week we're going to have ETC, and you'll get to see that during our play session, which is after the discussion. There's also a Q&A throughout. If you guys ever have questions, you can put them in chat, or to make sure we see them, you can tweet them to us using the hashtag StormShow. And then after the play session, we will have a community spotlight where we'll tell you about some cool things we've seen in the community this week. And of course, we were on the Misscliks channel too. We love the Misscliks. Anna, do you want to talk about what Misscliks is all about?
Sure, just really quickly, Misscliks is a community that's built around the idea that there just aren't quite enough role models that are female in geek and gaming culture, and so they like to have shows that really prominently feature women in geek and gaming, so that is part of what we're doing here. But we are joined by an awesome friend who we're really excited to have from Team Complexity. It's Urho. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
So, in case people may not know you, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and how you ended up on Team Complexity?
Sure. Well, obviously my name is Arrow. I've been playing. I've been playing this game in particular since the alpha. I got in shortly after the Lily patch. About 6 months after that, around December, the game started picking up steam, a lot of hype, and I started playing it pretty seriously. And found myself at the top of the Hot Slogs ladders, and started playing with some of the better players, and eventually met up with, which was back then the Barrel Boys. They're looking for a new player. I was a free agent. They picked me up. And we started doing pretty well. And shortly after, we got in contact with Complexity, and here we are.
And what role do you play?
I am a warrior player for us.
Okay, cool. So what are some of your favorite heroes?
ETC, Stitches, and I'm starting to favor Chen a bit now.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Ooh, and Arthas. Arthas is doing quite well lately.
That's nice to hear. He kind of was a little down and out lately. So
he's coming back. Just wait. Just some of the he's coming back. So you'll see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Is it a sort of a secret that he's coming back, or can you tell us?
Not so much amongst the competitive players. It's not so much a secret, but
okay.
Yeah.
So how is it being part of Complexity? That's fairly recent. We were just saying before we started the show, congratulations. That's a big pickup. Complexity is a very well-known name. So going from, just getting into this alpha, being part of Barrel Boys, and now suddenly being part of Team Complexity, what's that like?
That's great. I mean, Complexity is a big name team. They have a lot of awesome sponsors, or I guess we have a lot of awesome sponsors. So it just makes it very easy for me as a gamer to I'm basically almost living the dream here. I'm getting paid to play a video game. So it's really awesome. It's cool.
That's amazing to hear for you guys, and also for our scene, that these big name teams are starting to get in and take interest in the scene too. It gives me a lot of hope in where the scene is going as well. And that's something we actually want to talk about a bit, is with the patch, the new patches that come out. Of course, we always want to see the community change and grow for the better. And so we had a patch last week, and we wanted to know how it was going for you guys as part of Team Complexity.
So the patch week's always a little bit rocky. You're not really sure. There's a lot of changes. A nerf to one hero could mean, just because I didn't touch, another hero got immediately stronger, So it's a little bit rocky. We had a kind of, in my opinion, a poor showing at the ESL playoffs, but we just chalked it up to, patch jitters. And the following week, this week, we're doing great now. We've adjusted our draft strategies, our game plans, and it's showing in scrims. So we're we're feeling good about this patch, and we can't wait to get into some of the next tournaments. So
It's such an interesting thing with esports that's so different from other sports. It's not like people come in and they're like, we're going to completely change the way you hold a basketball and we're going to make the hoop a different size. Like sports are a lot different than esports, where you really have to be light on your feet and be willing to change. Do you find that exciting, or is it frustrating, or, are you looking forward to when we probably won't see as many patches?
I love the fast-paced patches that are coming out. I'm all about innovation. Like, me as a player, it's kind of, I'll play the off. I'll play whatever people aren't playing to try and make it work. Like, I love the innovative style, and luckily my teammates are on board with it. Like, we'll try things. So,
well, I love to
fun.
watch that style, so that's good for me. Well,
Yeah, ditto.
I know we are going to talk about the patch, specifically about the Tomb of the Spider Queen, but were there any other pieces of the patch, Erho, that you were, really excited about, or that you have certain thoughts on that you think people would like to hear before we get into really deep diving on that map?
I'm glad, not so much about balance changes, but specifically I'm glad that Blizzard are paying attention to the matchmaking. They know a big problem right now is there's no real solo queue. People are complaining about how balanced the matches are. At least I know now that Blizzard is aware and they're trying to make it work. I think that's what needs to happen to make the game take the next big step, in my opinion. So,
yeah, they have seemed to be really listening to the community.
What do you think this patch will see as sort of a change to the competitive scene, if any? Is terms of meta, have you seen very many changes thus far, and what have they been?
Not so many changes. Obviously, the best way I could describe it, there's play styles. There's what you want to do with your composition. There's still the same play styles. You still have the same way you're going to play it. Just like if you're going to play an aggressive comp, maybe some different heroes fit into that now. I mean, Sylvanas is really good with aggressive comps for the follow-up silence with her, Black Arrow. So, same play styles. We're just seeing different heroes in those play styles.
That's cool.
Yeah, awesome. Well, with that, do we want to hop into talking about the map?
Yes, let's.
Sure.
We talked about this a little bit last week. In case you guys missed that, though, or in case you haven't seen Tomb of the Spider Queen yet, Gilly, you want to tell us a little bit about this map, like review the basics for us?
Yeah, so the basics, of course, this is a very small map. The lanes are very close together, and you have to kill enemy heroes or the spider minions, and killing them will actually drop gems that you can pick up. They're on a timer once they drop, and if you die, you will drop them as well. The other team can't pick them up, but they will eventually go away, so your teammates have to pick them up. And then once you collect them, you can turn them in, and once you turn in enough, just like Blackheart's Bay, the map mechanic is activated. In this one, the Spider Queen summons her web weavers to push down every lane. And so every time you want to turn in, you have to turn in more and more gems, and it's very push heavy and laning specific as well.
And it's interesting to note that those web weavers do come in all three lanes, and they go to where the lane is pushed. They don't just start at the beginning of the lane or at a predetermined spot like a golem might. They come right to where your wave is, and in all three lanes. So it makes for really interesting decision making where a team decides to defend, whether it's the weakest lane or the strongest lane or where the other enemy team isn't. It's been really exciting to watch so far for me. Have you really liked this map, Erho, or is it not one of your favorites?
Me personally, I love the map. I love how close the lanes are together. It introduces a very unique feel that no other map represents, just because of the three lanes being so close together. Not a big fan of the secondary mechanic. I think the web reavers unique, but not the most innovative. I don't like how they work. So,
just because they're not different than any other ones, or
I don't like the fact that the lane creeps drop the mechanic. I know it's something different. They're trying to make every map different, but I don't like how that plays out on that map specifically.
What do you think that it brings about that maybe not so good for competitive play on the map? Is it that it can make it difficult for you to continue picking up gems later on, or what is it about it?
Exactly. Later on in the game, early game, everyone's getting gems. It's pretty easy to get gems. But later on in the games, when the lanes are pushing back and forth, from a competitive point of view, you don't want to be off by your own collecting gems. So you're going to see much fewer turn-ins later in the game. So the secondary mechanic at that point, at least from a competitive standpoint, is it's kind of weird. Like, nothing really happens with it.
So it's kind of almost opposite of a lot of maps that we see then, where the secondary mechanic sort of becomes even stronger later on, like Dragon Knight and the Garden Terror. But in this case, it's becomes weaker because you don't want to leave your teammates.
Not only that, but it just seems like the secondary mechanic it's easy to deal with. If you're sitting there turtling in your base, it's very easy to deal with all those spiders. So
I see.
So in looking at this map with your team, obviously you don't want to give away like your team's strategies or anything like that, but what has come up that's really important in terms of the timing or the composition, or let's get down to the nitty-gritties. Maybe let's start with the timings of this map. What are you really looking for in the early game on Tomb of the Spider Queen?
it depends on what you've drafted and what your game plan is for the map. In my mind, there's two ways you can play the map. You can play hyper aggressive, where you're just roaming around trying to get picks, stealing gems, or you can play more of a map vision style, where you're taking scouting drones and you're just playing defensively against the gank, and you're taking things with strong wave clear to collect those gems and turn in. Typically, a good wave clear comp is going to have really good ways of stopping turn-ins. So those are the two ways you can play. In just my experience, there's not a lot of mercs on the map, so there's not a lot of room for creating merc pressure. I mean, there's one easy camp and two hard camps and a boss.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since the map is so hard, it's pretty difficult to take that boss. Basically, get the win in a team fight. You just can't go up there and take it because the map's so small. And just rotate up there and just kill him. So
it's the boss in a box.
Mm-hmm. And the way that boss is positioned on that map, as opposed to like Sky Temple, once you're in that little choke, you're in there. You don't have very many ways to run out. It's much different than other boss locations.
I think that timing and figuring out when to even try to take a merc camp is something that I really struggle with on this map. Do you have any sort of suggestion of a good time that people should think, okay, maybe this is a good time for us to pick up the bruisers, the bottom sieges? You talked about the boss.
Mm-hmm. There's two ways you can use the mercs on that map. One, if your team's struggling to turn in gems, you can create merc pressure that would relieve pressure off of the shrines. So the other team has to either deal with the mercs to let you turn in, or you can time the mercs to spawn with your spiders, basically, when you get a turn in. Those are both the times you want to turn in.
I see. So what are some indicators? The problem is that a lot of people, like I think pro gamers just have these internal clocks that I don't understand that just like tell them, okay, 2.75 minutes have gone by. I need to do this. I don't have that. So if somebody was maybe a little bit newer to the game and they needed a reminder for like, oh, now is a really good time to push mercs. Is there any cues that they could use, do you think, for maybe a more basic player?
Particularly on this map in specific?
Yeah.
This map in particular? Okay. I'd have to say if you're new to the game, I guess just understanding what mercs do for you. What they do is they're going to push a lane for you, and your opponents have to react to that. And if they don't, they're going to lose some of their structures, which is the primary objective in the game. So with that in mind, that's going to free up space all over the map, no matter when you do it. So if your team's holding a lot, if you just push tab, you open up your screen, oh, my team has, just do some quick math. Oh, we have 60 gems, ATC is sitting with 40 gems, but we can't turn in. Let's just go get those knights out. It's going to create pressure on the map for us.
This map has sort of a unique merc setup in that there is one bruiser camp on each side and then only one siege giant in the bottom, where typically before we've seen the siege giants are the ones on each side and then a bruiser in the bottom if there's going to be something that's split like that. Do you think that affects the map in terms of mercenaries at all, or is it pretty much, do you think, the same still?
Of course. Well, knights and siege giants behave differently in lane. Knights can die pretty easy. Like knights are the ammo drainers. Like they'll drain all the ammo and they'll keep map vision by keeping that lane pushed. Whereas the golems are more of like a damage dealer to the building. So they behave differently. Because of that, because there's only one, so that means that there's only one lane in the map that you can get that siege giant pressure on. It just means that there's less merc pressure to worry about, and there's more so. If there's less merc pressure, that means that there's more team fighting, basically.
Okay.
That's all that really means for that map.
Cool. Which is already brought on, I guess, too, by the fact that all of the lanes are so squished together.
That's just the style of the map. So
there's really just nowhere to run on this map. Like there's no breathing time. There's nowhere you can go and just like think about your next move or know that you're safe. And especially these little corridors where those bruisers are, and there's all this fog of war, and you can get so easily trapped there. It seems to me in watching a lot of these games that anything that can block the way, or any comps that are really good at the body blocking or anything like that, really seem to shine on this map. And I know you talked about there kind of being two different types of compositions that you're looking for, one being really interested in kind of vision and one being interested in the lane push. Are there any particular heroes or even abilities that you think are really important on this map that you would pick for either one of those styles? Maybe even we can go through them one by one.
Sure. As far as talents, scouting drone, any hero that can get a level 1 scouting drone should seriously consider taking that, because you can drop, especially with the scouting drone change, they made it so you have 2 charges, and I think it's like a 40-second. I can't recall the exact change, but it's pretty good now. And you can just drop a scouting drone at any of those little middle shrines where you turn in. It'll give you vision from rotations, and it'll obviously show you the turn in so you can interrupt it. In terms of abilities that are good on this map, team fight abilities, I guess, because there's going to be a lot of them. What I mean by that is, like, I hate to say, but Arthas Sindragosa is just like, it's actually pretty good that map, because there's so many places you can stand in like the fog, and then Sindragosa comes flying out, and they're all slowed, and your team can like jump on top of them. So
yeah. We saw a pretty killer game with Zagara on this map, with creep just all over it. And we were talking about how important that is for vision as well. Are there any other heroes, or have you played with Zagara at all on this map?
Zagara is a very strong pick on this map, simply because of the creep tumor. And the prominent build for Zagara on this build, or on this map in particular, is the creep tumor build, because it expands the tumor so much, and it gives you so much vision. So
yeah, being able to have vision over both of the turn-ins just totally made the game for that team that had the Zagara, let alone having, Ma in those tight corridors too. My friends from Thor Academy actually mentioned Kerrigan. What do you think of Kerrigan on this map? Have you guys been able to check her out at all?
Excellent choice. She just plays into the aggressive style that is this map. So if you're going for more of an aggressive composition, Kerrigan's definitely a solid pickup.
You talked about, so we've got the aggressive composition, but you also talked about the sort of the sitting in the back and vision. Besides Zagara and people who get scouting drone, are there any other ones in that type of composition you might think about picking up?
Sure. Tassadar, obviously, with his Oracle passive. Just trying to think here. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Like, if you're just going for some sort of strong map vision, you go scouting drones. Zagara's comes to mind. Tassadar comes to mind. All that good stuff. So, and luckily there's quite a few heroes like scouting drone now. So
yeah, and it's interesting, there's of course no watchtowers on this map, and a lot of times vision isn't something that people think of when they are combing through heroes and deciding on picks. Vision is kind of a secondary thought, so I like to see a map that really prioritizes that, and Zagara is a favorite of mine, so that was cool to see her. And the fact that you mentioned Kerrigan, Gilly, is always a little smile for me. I love to see her being useful too.
Just for you, friend.
I know. Yes. So I was thinking, we've talked a lot about individual heroes that might be good on this map. And Gilly, you and I really like a lot of times to talk about kind of the standard build and then maybe a specialty build. And Urho, you mentioned that you like kind of playing around with things that might be unconventional, but that might work. So why don't we talk about, like, let's pretend we're drafting. Let's talk about a 5-person comp that you would think would be like a perfect standard comp for this map. And then maybe a 5-person comp that you think might be fun, that might do something that's a little bit special.
Sure.
We could even do the sit back vision comp, and then the aggressive ganking comp as well, which might fit into that too. Okay, so yeah, where do we start?
First, it would depend on if you're doing pick bands. It really depends on whether you're first picking or you're second picking, and what the bands are. So that's where you'd have to go from there. If we're gonna talk at a competitive level here, I know on Hero League there are no bans, so I mean, just off the top of my head, like, let's say I'm second pick and we're going for like more of a pushing waves map vision, just going for a strong level 10 team fight, not letting them gank us. We're most likely going to ban out Tyrande, because Tyrande complements a burst comp so well, or Kerrigan on this map. Those are 2 bans we're going to be looking for, because Tyrande's mark makes it possible for anyone that gets caught. She's got a follow-up stun, and her mark's just going to, obviously, it's going to kill someone, which her mark is her passive. Marks a target to take 25% more damage. So then, let's say they open up with a first pick Jaina or something. That automatically tells us that they already have a really good backline. They have good wave clear. So we're probably thinking they're going to go something aggressive. So now we're going to look at, okay, we're going to take Tassler for the vision, and we're going to take Vala. We want wave clear. We want heroes that are safe. And I don't know what they go. Like, let's say they take ETC early and they grab Uther. So now they got a lot of CC with a Jaina. And we're expecting probably a Kerrigan pick or an Illidan pick with a Divine Storm, or a Divine Shield, rather. Then we'd look at, we're looking at ETC, Uther.
I should almost be doing a mock draft here, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
So they have ETC, Uther, and Jaina. And we've got Volatas. We're probably going to look to take, so we don't want to grab a tank now. I doubt they're going double tank. So we're probably going to grab another damage dealer. Probably Zagara and Brightwing. That's what we go there.
Nice. I've been seeing a lot more Brightwing lately, which is
My
also
little
exciting for us.
friends.
Brightwing would provide us a scouting drone, and Zagara would provide us a lot more map pressure and vision. And we know that we have solid damage through Zagara, Tass, and Vala. And we've got our solo hero with a solo healer in Brightwing. She also brings a cleanse, which is huge against aggressive comps that are going for like stun and kills. So anyone that they go on, Brightwing can just cleanse and they're safe. So, and then our last pick would obviously be our tank. And let's say they end up taking Kerrigan for their last two picks, like Kerrigan or whatever. Then we pick our tank, which would probably be, I don't know, Stitches, maybe. I don't know. I would have to think about it more, but it would be just be a tank that's viable on that map. So
I was thinking Brightwing with kind of her pulsing heal, is sometimes a challenge on the bigger maps when your team is going to be spread out a lot more. But I suppose maybe these close quarters make it a little bit easier to stay next to Brightwing and get the benefits of that heal. I don't know. I haven't played her on this map, but maybe that would be a benefit to this map for Brightwing, I suppose.
Yeah. The thing about Brightwing is she's also a really good laner. It's hard for a lot of heroes that 1v1 her. So as long as we're keeping track of where their Kerrigan and Uther are roaming or whatever they're doing, Brightwing should be able to dominate her lane, which is really strong on that map.
Cool.
Do you guys, when you do Brightwing, even though I know we're going to be talking about ETC, do you guys run Emerald Wind a lot or Blink Heal a lot or about 50-50? This is for my own benefit.
It depends on your composition and what you need to do as Brightwing. If you have a really, really aggressive composition, let's say you have a Sonya, it takes some coordination. If you have a Sonya, you can like global onto Sonya after she leaps and then get a really good Emerald Wind off.
Yeah.
If your composition is like, we want to win a fight in the first 10 seconds, we're just going to blow one or two people up and that's our fight. Emerald Wind is way better there. But if your composition, if you're just trying to stay alive, obviously, then you're going to want to go Blink Heal and Cleanse. If they have like a stun lockdown type deal.
Right.
If not, the I forgot the talent called. It's like the pulsing heal. Not regenerative rains. Level 7 talent.
I'll look it up. We'll go to Heroes Fire while you're while you're talking.
Maybe during our play session, I know that one of our enemy team members likes to play Zagara, so maybe we can kind of showcase the two types of styles that you're talking about, with one side doing the more aggressive and the other side doing the more vision based. We'll see if they'll be willing to do that. I'm sure they'd have no problem with that. Other tips and tricks on this map? Any funny things you found or anything like that? We even have map secrets there too. I know there's like a place where you can summon Harrison Jones.
Oh yeah.
How do you do that on this map? I haven't seen that.
You have to click on the little trinket thing. We can show you when we get into the game, but you just click on this little trinket thing that's up at the top and then he'll kind of climb down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you'll have to show me.
Any other tips or tricks?
Just a couple of cool things about this map. There are, if you look at the upper fort areas, there's like little cool ways you can get into the fort without actually having to go through a gate. Just some really cool things like that. And there's like side gates into the main base as well, like in the keep. That's unique to this map, and I think that's kind of neat. Even though the side gates, like, no one actually breaks them down.
I was gonna ask, do you guys use them?
we never break them down. In the competitive game, if you have time to break buildings, you should be breaking like towers and stuff, not breaking the side gate. Like, even if you got in there, you'd be kind of screwed because you'd be by a keep. So
that is interesting. There's a lot. It's like a maze-like quality that this map has.
Yeah. I think we'd want to finish up with just observations about the map so far. You kind of went into it with as far as the web weavers are concerned, but maybe how it might further be patched in the future.
I would like to see hero kills as the game progress give more. I know you drop your gems if you die, but I wish that a portion of those gems, if not almost all of them, were able to be picked up by the other team. Because like I said, late game, it gets to the point where it's hard to get turn-ins and there's just this stalemate where you're just kind of running around just waiting for the secondary objective, or you're just looking for a fight. So
that only your team can pick up your gems. I totally thought when I first started playing this that it was going to be more like Black Hearts, where it was like, because I know you're going to be holding a lot more gems than you're going to be holding doubloons, and so I thought that was kind of fun, that it could really sway things one way or the other. But maybe the decision was made to make this not so snowbally. I don't know, but I'm going to be interested to see what they do there too.
Yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it, so it's not as snowbally. But like I said, it just or just the kill in general could, as the game goes on, the higher level hero is, the more gems that they drop. So that would potentially be a comeback mechanic. I mean, if you're 2 levels down, you kill a hero, it's going to pop out a bunch of gems.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of giving more ability for a comeback is really important too.
Right.
What do you think about how it takes, after all the web weavers have been down, there's actually, I think, a 10-second period where nobody can turn in. What do you think of that?
I think that's necessary, because if you're being pushed, if there's web weavers attacking your base, you're the team that's defending. You need time to recuperate and move back out onto the map. Otherwise, the other team could just chain turn in without there being that grace period of the shrines you're setting.
Yeah, Sefthukazor in chat said, "Dear Blizzard, please add a gem counter for your whole team to make turn-ins easier."
Yeah, when you need to turn in like 50, it's so difficult. You're like, wait a second, math can't figure out how much we have, and it goes.
We've got a math guy on the team that's just constantly giving. Yeah, he constantly give us updates how much we have, how much they have. So he's good. He opens up, he presses tab, and he says, "They have this much, we have this much." So it works for us.
That's nice.
On Black Hearts and stuff as well. So
yeah,
before teams are hiring math guys.
Yeah, everybody needs a math guy or girl to be able to help out with that. I have a friend who is always at least generally one coin off on Black Hearts. So he'll be like, "All right, guys, we're ready. Let's go turn it. Let's go turn it." So we'll get over there and we'll turn it, and then we'll be down 1. And we're like, "Phoenix, why do you do this to us?"
Oh, you called him out. Wow.
Yeah, we call it Phoenix math. He knows.
Oh, okay.
It's funny. It's fine.
Yeah, that ends up hurting it too, because you waste a lot of time at that turn, and it's all times you could have been spent taking mercs or pushing lanes and committed to the turn in.
It usually really only happens, I think, when we're ahead anyway, thankfully, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm curious
definitely could.
What you think of, I mean, there are 2 turn-in points as opposed to Black Hearts where there's only 1, and they're so close to each other. So when I was first looking at them, I was like, why even bother having 2? But then, of course, you can have 2 teams turning in at the same time, but the danger, the knife fight in the closet, as Blizzard likes to call it, is still there. What do you think about those 2 turn-ins? Do you think that they're the right distance from each other? Do they provide for interesting gameplay?
Oh, absolutely. That map, if there's 2 turn-in locations, it creates interesting play. Because if you can just create a diversion, everyone posture up by this temple, and we're going to have our guy with the coins try to sneak a turn-in down there. You know, I mean, that's just mind games of, competitive play. So it makes for interesting play, definitely. Yeah.
I'm really loving seeing some teams really like setting up traps in some competitive matches, like lying in wait, or like you said, kind of controlling the psychology of the game. So I'm excited to see how that develops on this map for sure.
It's going to be a fun game. There's the comms in that map particular, in comparison to the comms in other maps, it's way more chaotic because it's so small and there's so many rotations and so much going on. It sounds like you're at a really busy party or something. You just don't know what people are saying half the time, but you figure it out eventually. So
it is
really make it extremely difficult for you then when you're having to explain ETC and tell us what to do during the play session.
No, not shot calling that. I shot called for like 8 hours today and we're done. No,
that's fine. Well, Actually, that's a good segue because we are going to be covering ETC with Erho. We always do a special build that a pro will bring to us. So Erho's going to give us a build. We're going to put that link in chat and we're going to talk about it during the game. And then Erho, we get to choose because we're the ones on air. We get to choose what team comp we want to show off for this game. So who should we pair with ETC in this custom?
Let's see here. We're on Spider Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pair ETC with the more aggressive composition.
Let's do it. That'll be fun.
All right. Well, shall we go ahead and set up that game, and then we'll come back and reveal who we're going to use on that aggressive comp?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we will be right back. We're going to not take the stream down this time. Yay, new technology, hashtag production value, blah, blah, blah. But we'll be right back after this break with our play session and ETC build. See you soon.